Welcome. This is Channel 1 Newscheck on this 8th day of December. Hope you are having a good morning. Of course, showers and thunderstorms here in the county of Nairobi, but it's time to have a check on what is currently happening where you are, and of course we will be touching on issues that are affecting us. Well, since the coronavirus pandemic was announced in Kenya back in March, of course all sectors were affected, including schools, businesses, foundations were also affected, but some have been able to stay afloat while others have sunk. Some of the people who have been worst affected are widows and orphans and children who are vulnerable children. They're called the OVCs. How has the situation been? Well, looking at the statistics from the National Council for Children's Services, actually they are startling. Of course, we have over 48,000 children in homes and foster care, and also have been adopted here in the country. 591 legally registered child care institution here in Kenya. 10 billion shillings was set aside by the government to support this group of people. Of course, there are other programs that the government has initiated right now that we're having the COVID-19 pandemic. Migori, Siaya, and Homa Bay have the highest number of orphans. Of course, we will be delving into that to know why and how homes there are struggling. Right now, we have the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, we have 3.6 million orphans and vulnerable children here in the country. 40% of all adoptions here in Kenya by foreigners. Of course, we're also going to touch on that. We've had some issues also, when it comes to adoption by foreigners. And of course, I will tell you why neglect, physical and sexual abuse are among the top issues facing children in homes. That is the conversation that we will be having. Remember, we are live right here from the broadcasting house in the county of Nairobi, and we are also live via our various social media platforms, including Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, not forgetting our very beautiful KBC app, which will also help you to be kept abreast on all the happenings right here on Channel 1, even when you are on the go. Kindly download it so that you may be able to keep up with each and every thing that has to be offered right here from KBC. Those are just some of the statistics that we have in the country, and that is the discussion that we are going to be having, that is caring for vulnerable communities, and especially now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Troy Njue. Simon Karoda will be our sign language interpreter, and you can see him on the bottom right of your screen. And to delve into that discussion, I'm joined by Newton Ogada, who is the founder of God Will Provide Foundation. Newton, welcome.
Thank you.
Of course, some of the startling statistics, but we will be getting into that. Kindly tell us something about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Newton Ogada. I'm coming from Homa Bay County. I was born there. I grew up there. I went to school there. Then I was born as a Kenyan. I go through the struggle as any other Kenyan, and after that I've been having a passion to support the vulnerable, the widows, not because I just wanted it, but I grew up in that poor family. So I went through a lot of things. Like when I started looking for a job, I was here in Nairobi. Once I think I was selling some paper bag in Gikomba. And I became a matatu driver here in Babadogo. And then after that, I was praying a lot to do something better to improve the lifestyle of our people who are suffering. So finally, after that, I got to meet a guy called Johnny Bridge. He's American. And I got him when I went back home to start doing some development there. I quit all the job. I went and started planting a tree. And I wanted, whenever I sell the tree, I can support a child.
Okay.
And then from there, I got Johnny. Johnny was having nothing. He was not having money. He was a young guy. And we got in touch with him. We started getting together. He came to Kenya. We had a plan of building an orphanage, which actually we did. after some time. And now we have an orphanage home called God Will Provide. We have a life change center in Nairobi called God Will Provide. We actually support 518 households on building houses. Because sometimes I go to the village, the houses are poorly, they can't survive. You get there, you just start crying, you know. So I thank God we supported over 500 now. We build houses, some we buy cows for them. We took some, their children are in the orphanage. Now we are building a school for them.
How many children do you have in your orphanage?
At the orphanage, we have 40 children now. Then we have others, around 100, coming out from outside. They get food there. They get school education there. And then they go back home because my building cannot have more than 40, according to the capacity here. Yeah.
For how long have you had the God Will Provide Foundation and the orphanage?
Yeah, I began the ministry in 2012 December. Then we built the facility. Then we took the kids in 2015. Yeah. And
of course, you have also felt the heat brought about by the COVID-19. How was the situation before the COVID-19 pandemic, and how has the situation been since it was first announced in Kenya?
It's a big challenge to us, like a non-profit organization. We always depend on those who are supporting us. And you remember when this corona came in, it started from the abroad. Yes. And most of the help were coming from abroad. So everything was locked down. Some of my supporters got affected. And now they could not help again. Everything was shut down, even in America. There was no job, there was no school. So the economy of America started going down. And my supporters start fearing because they have their family too. So it was too difficult during this corona time. But before the corona, things were actually good, because people were fundraising, they were supporting us. I got all the sponsors for the 40 children. Yeah, so it was it's a big difference now. It's a big difference.
How have you been able to survive? Of course, it has hit you hard too, as well.
I think God has all the plans. Before the corona, I thought of doing agriculture. I thought of having cows. So most of the things that the kids are eating now are coming from our own garden. And before that, I tried to do things that can make the project in Kenya run by itself. Though it was affected because now there was no market to sell anything. Yes. But it was good for me because now we had what we can consume without asking for funds. Yes. Yeah, so that's what has been taking me. And I thank God, because even though there was a little bit of technicalities, I still have some guys back in America who supported even on feeding the vulnerable. I think during March, April, May, we did feeding worth over 5 million shillings. I was buying food and take my vehicles and we drive to the community and we give food, you know. So we give a lot of food during those days.
Perhaps, do you think we have a big problem in the country now that a lot of people and a lot of homes are depending solely on donor funding, and especially from the West?
That is so. It's something which is affecting the country, and I think we actually in it. And I've been advising most of organizations that we need to think on what we can do or how we can go about this. Because according to what has been happening in the whole world, you may not predict what will happen tomorrow. Maybe the president of the United States will say, I don't want my guys to go to Africa. So I've been having an idea, like, for example, me now, because I want to talk on what I understand. I put some structure. Like, I'm building a school where even other people can bring their children and they pay. We are building an hospital because I'm doing a lot of things when it comes to health. I've been doing a lot of medical camps. So I thought of starting my own hospital. It's called Beryl Medical Center. And then I now straightly go to the farming, so that I don't want our organization to depend 100% from the donor fund.
Yes.
Because if we do that, what if something happened? Where will we take these children? Where will we take these widows? We cannot. So my organization now, we had a plan. Already we started it. Not we had a plan, we started it. When it comes to the orphanage, I have a program. We are building a school, a big school now. And we are building an hospital where if these children are sick, they go to our own hospital. If my staff are sick, they get treated. And being I'm working with many widows in the community, I'm building an hospital because they have a lot of different diseases. So they can come and get treated without asking, without knowing, you know. So I'm trying now to buy for them or to register them under NHIF so they can come to our hospital. And the money that they are paying, we are paying for the NHIF. When the NHIF pay us back, now we can afford to purchase the medicine. So I'm trying to put my organization in a way that we can survive without Western.
Indeed. And of course, we will tell us about how corporates also chip in, and of course, men and women of goodwill. But before that, let's first head to the Serena Hotel, where there is a launch of the automated seed certification.
By the weather and the rainfall. So around 9th of November, the winds turned. And the colleagues, we were monitoring the colleagues in Ethiopia wrestling with the locusts, the colleagues in Yemen also wrestling with locusts, and also in Somalia and Djibouti. But from 9th of November, we started getting some of the swarms being pushed by the winds down into Kenya. What we also realized is that central Somalia was heavily infested, but because of the security issues there, nobody was monitoring that part. So you find locusts have now come into counties like Lamu, where we didn't expect, and Tana River, Garissa, Taita Taveta, Kilifi, from down. So it's not going to be just central and northern counties. We also have some incursions all the way up to the coast. So we have had now to set up a base also in Witu, in Garissa, and probably another one might be in Taita Taveta. We now have to train the extension people and other frontline workers in Taita Taveta, Tana River, Kilifi. They had not been trained before. And we have surveillance teams going on around there. But I think based on the lessons we had from last time, even the second invasion will still be able to manage it. But this time it has come earlier. Last time it came on 28th of December. This time already we have very mature swarms here. They are already breeding. And it is easier for us when they breed, because then you can control them while they're on the ground, and we'll be ready for them. We'll have 6 weeks while they're on the ground to manage them before they can start flying again. So we have our team scattered all over. We are a bit stretched, but I think we have a robust plan that will enable us to still succeed.
Are we expecting the same size of swarm like the first one?
I don't know what is hiding in Somalia.
That is just a short preview of the National Automated Seed Certification that is currently happening at the Serena Hotel. And speaking earlier was Agriculture PS Professor Hamadi Boga. Of course, the system is to increase compliance in seed sector and ensure farmers access quality seeds, hence increased production. We will be getting a much comprehensive report on the same as our reporter Betty Kiptum is on that summit. In case you've just joined us, this is Channel 1 News Check. And today we are looking at how to care for the vulnerable communities, including widows, orphans, and vulnerable children, if you like, OVCs. And joining me in studio is Newton Ogada, who is the founder of God Will Provide Foundation and Orphanage. And before we headed to Serena, we were talking about how donors are chipping in to help out, and especially in your endeavor. Have corporates here in Kenya, and even men and women of goodwill chipped in to help? or even the community?
Yes, I have few members who are actually have been supporting me locally. Like sometimes when I'm building houses for the widow, I do post in Facebook, and I've seen some people are sending their support towards it. And I want to say I'm happy because I see even our locals. I try to see what exactly we need to do back in the community. Yeah, because all of us, we belong to this community. All of us, we grew up one day from this community. So yeah, we have people supporting it.
Yes, and the National Council for Children's Services did talk about corporates have reduced their donations on even donors, as you have rightly put it. Have you had to change? Some homes have had to skip a meal so that to make ends meet. Have you had to make some radical changes so that you may continue supporting the 40 kids? Because some even organizations have had to send the kids away.
Yeah, when the corona came in Kenya or in the world, there was a lot of disadvantage to many organizations. Even me, I was having a challenge. But as I said before, I did some work before. It's like God was speaking to us and tell us exactly what's going to happen. So we put aside some other organization locally that can bring support to the orphanage. And I think my orphanage or my project during this pandemic, we even reach out other orphanages with the stock that we had. We given them, we support them with some food, some clothes. My project did it. Yeah, so my advice to many organizations is that we need to think on how we can be self-sustained. Yes. I'm not rejecting the aid coming from anywhere, but I'm just saying if we get the aid, can you just do your maths better? Can we do our maths better in a way that we can do something with the money? Not just to eat the money, because I always believe on if we only eat, it's like we know only how to eat fish, but we cannot fish. So I'm thinking that it's better. It will be a good idea for the country, for the non-governmental organization, to do something on how they can sustain themselves. So even when the aid come, you can have enough to give to another upcoming organization.
Yes, and I'm quite sure you've seen volunteers, people offering to assist. At least they are not coming with anything, but they would like to volunteer to perhaps help out the widows, the elderly, and of course the OVCs. Yeah. And the COVID-19 just came, and we have volunteers who actually have also been affected, and others are fearing that they might contract the dreaded virus. Have you had issues on that as well?
Yes, I have been receiving many volunteers from abroad, and now I have only 2. And these two, I call them the brave ones, because they decide to jump and come into this country, even though there's corona or there's no corona, and they're here. But most of them, when I was in America 2 weeks ago, I went there to have a meeting on the medical camps, because I actually do major medical camps every year. So I went for a meeting to see how we can go about it, but everybody's afraid. Nobody say this, with this corona we cannot, you know. So it's going to affect a bigger number, because each and every year they volunteer, they come here, nobody pays them, but they come with medicine. They send me money, I buy enough medicine to do like 6-7 medical camps. And now it's like 2021, we might not have it because of the corona. So it's actually really, corona really affected all the sectors, the volunteers, the donors, even our schools. It is all over, yeah. So we actually are having a big challenge.
Of course, the government has many programs to assist the vulnerable, including the OVCs. How has that support been since the COVID-19 struck? I've seen you smile there.
I can speak before and now.
Yes.
I'm a director of a non-profit organization. I've been there for now 8 years. I've never seen any support from the government.
None whatsoever?
I've never seen any. 100%. I've never seen anything coming from government. I only see them in TV. I only heard them when they speak in the radio, but I've never seen. For example, my friend, we had this corona issue. The government announced that they will provide masks, sanitizers. I'm coming from a region that I support it. the same government, I know some officials came to me if I can support, and I did it. I did a lot of hand sanitizer. I did a lot of mask. I even now I'm still providing masks.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Of course, we're going to be looking at that, but let's head to the Kenya Wildlife Service headquarters in Lang'ata, where there's a launch of the KWS tour campaign, and our reporter Irene Mchuma Odimi is on standby to keep us afloat on what exactly is happening there.
You want to make test? Troy, good morning. We're coming to you live from the Kenya Wildlife Service headquarters in Lang'ata, Nairobi County. We have witnessed the launch of the Zuru product by the Kenya Wildlife Service, one that is setting the platform for Kenyans to traverse the country and experience the products that the Kenya Wildlife Service has. And this ranges from the wildlife, both on land and also in the marine. Troy, if you would want to swim with the dolphins, then you'll have to move to Kisite Mpunguti in the county of Kilifi. And of course, if you would want to see the crocodiles in numbers, you'd have to move to the county of Turkana, the central island, where you'll be able to explore more on this. Without further ado, I'm bringing on board the Director General here at the Kenya Wildlife Service, Bwana James Waweru, to give us more insight into this product. We have launched the Zuru product, sir, which one that is setting the platform for Kenyans to traverse the country. Tell us more in regards to this.
Yes, indeed, we're very happy to have launched this campaign. It is a campaign to encourage Kenyans to be able to come to our national parks. From experience, we've realized that most of the visitors that we get are foreign visitors. But now we are trying to tell Kenyans, come to the parks, come and see the abundance that is there of both flora and fauna, the animals, and the wildlife in general. So this is a campaign to attract more Kenyans, especially during the festive season, to be able to come through.
So what would motivate me to move to these parks and reserves? What will I get in return, and what are these products in details?
The products are, well, of course, there are game drives that you'll be able to come and do. There is also, in areas like Hell's Gate, there's, you can do climbing of like Longonot Mountain. You can do hiking, bicycle riding, and many other activities, even cliff climbing. It is also there. So these are activities that I'm certain, unless we told Kenyans, maybe they're not even aware that these things exist. And remember, the parks and reserve cut across the entire nation. As you mentioned just now, if you want to see dolphins, go to Kisite Mpunguti in Kwale. If you want to see where the whales breed, those happen at Watamu, at the marine reserve there, and many other areas. So they are vast and diverse. It's not like one product, but it's all these products. And people pay, from out of the country. I mean, international visitors pay a good dollar to come and see that. But we have reduced rates for Kenyans. If you remember, sometime early this year, we actually brought, because of COVID, we brought the rates down by 50%. So whereas a Kenyan would have paid 700 shillings to enter Nairobi National Park, now they're paying only 350. So that is just so that we can encourage Kenyans to come and see what we have.
Why the name Zuru?
Well, Zuru means tour. Have you toured your country? Have you gone around to see your country? And that's why we came up with the name Zuru, because it allows people to Zuru, to tour, to go and see what is there. And that's why we felt the name Zuru would be an easy name to remember, first and foremost, and also it passes the message.
Thank you so much. That is the Director General here at the Kenya Wildlife Service. And Troy, it is a product that is coming at the right time when the country has just won the World Destination Award, the most preferred destination in the World Travel Awards. And also, it's coming at a time that the tourism industry is trying to come back to life after the COVID-19 pandemic. Most hotels, most destinations were shut down in combating measures in ending the spread of the virus. And Troy, earlier on we were able to get it from the speakers that when you tour these destinations, you'll be able to be awarded, there'll be souvenirs for those ones who go to these parks and reserves in exploring these magical products. Troy, you understand that we have both the white and black rhinos here in the country, and interestingly, both of them are grey in color. But for you to know and distinguish more about these two species, and then you have a reason to visit our parks here in the country. Back to you, Troy.
Thank you so much, Irene Chuma Odim, there from the Kenya Wildlife Service headquarters in Lang'ata, Nairobi, where the KWS today is launching the tour campaign, which they have dubbed Zuru, Kuzuru Maeneo. And actually, she was talking to the Director General, retired Brigadier John Waweru, who is leading the campaign and has talked about a variety of magical scenes in the country to spend time with your loved one, especially now that we have the festive season with us. And of course, I've talked about bringing the rates down, not only because of the COVID-19, but to encourage local tourism. Thank you, Irene, for that. And we are going back to our discussion where we are looking at how to care for the vulnerable in the community. We are talking about widows and also orphans and vulnerable children, or if you like, the OVCs. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, you've seen so many orphanages being shut down because of lack of funding. A lot of this funding comes from the West and also from other Asian and American countries. And Newton Ogada, who is the founder of God Will Provide Foundation and Orphanage, is helping us put issues into perspective. And before we actually headed to Lang'ata, you were talking about you've never received any single coin from the government as support for your endeavors. Are you registered with the NCCK?
Yes, I'm a registered member. And my organization has been there for a while, and the government knows about it because down in our county, there's a Ministry of Children. And I have the certificate to have the children at the orphanage, because you cannot just wake up and open without any certification, which means I'm a member. My name is there. But I don't want to say that the government is not actually supporting. They support us with security. That's 100% sure. They're supporting when we have cases. The government came in. If that's the support that you're talking about, that's what we are getting. But support financially or food, I'm sorry, I've never received any.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the truth. I think the Ministry of Health once gave us mosquito nets. That I can call the support from the government.
From the statistics of the National Council for Children's Services, talking about Homa Bay, where you and a lot of Nyanza counties, around 2 or 3, are leading in the number of vulnerable children in the society, and you have been on the ground. What are some of the things that are attributing? Yeah,
what contribute a number of many orphans in Homa Bay County, as I speak, is the disease called HIV. AIDS. There's a lot of cultural issues in Luo Nyanza. I don't know other parts of the country, but I'll speak about my culture. We have a lot of cultural issues which is affecting and giving additional death of the widows, because you may find maybe a man died on road accident, and there's a cultural issue that the woman who remains as a widow must get another man. And sometimes, due to the poverty and due to education, like civic education, they don't go for extra on knowing their status. And this has been a very big challenge to us, that we are having many orphans towards that. AIDS is the number one, which contributes a lot of orphans. And even these orphans, a number are positive. Because their mothers gave birth without knowing, without taking any precaution.
Yes.
And now the children are being affected with the same. So you may find you have 50 kids or 40 kids, but 5 of them are sick. You can go to another home that half of the children are sick on things that they don't even know how. Yeah, so I can say that's the truth, that we have a number, and even us as a non-governmental organization, we cannot afford to help all of them. Yeah.
And the government, through the National Plan of Action for families, vulnerable families and OVCs, they talked about strengthening the capacity for families to protect and care for the OVCs. Have you seen any efforts to try and strengthen that?
Yes, that part government has really tried. They have their local, health care unit that walk around, they do tests, they teach, and that I think for the past 5 years, it has been a good years for these widows, because I've seen the Ministry of Health under the government of Kenya, they are providing. They are really working hard on that. I know some that I work closely with. When I'm doing my health issues, the government really give me support for that. I always get somebody to support on training, advocacy, and such other things here.
And Kenya had been marked globally by UN agencies as a country for voluntourism, which is actually where foreigners come in the country in the guise of opening children's home or volunteering. We had an incident, I'm quite sure you remember, of an American who had been arrested for abusing kids.
Yes.
What is the situation that we're having in the country? Because, of course, if this query has been raised by the United Nations, of course, it is a problem that is also in the country.
We have humans that they feel for themselves. That's how I call them. They take advantage of Africans. Whenever I go to America, sometimes I speak so hard in this. I don't just take all the support, all the money, because I don't want your money because you're going to support me. I want your money to go and support the vulnerable, just because God given you opportunity.
Yes.
But we are weak. African, we are weak in a way that when we see the white people coming, we think they're Jesus or they're God, or they are our president, We just give them all the opportunity to abuse, to do anything. But I want to speak about my organization. I talk with those who are coming before they come. I say, if you're coming to my country to support the vulnerable people, don't raise yourself high. We have only one person. We have only one person. God is the highest person. Yes. So if we have to raise ourselves high, then don't give me your money. I'm telling you, one day I rejected 10 million.
10 million?
Exactly, yes, in my office. The guy was in the country. He was sitting in my office as we sit here. They wanted to give me 10 million, but with a lot of restriction on, they want to overtake everything. I say, no, I'm sorry about that. God will give me 1 shilling, but 1 shilling from God will be much important than your 10 million. Take back your money. I am sorry. I did not take the money.
Indeed. Actually, that was supposed to be my next question. We've seen situations where some donors self-impose what exactly they want to be going on in their homes. And of course, they also have some situations where, of course, the home cannot afford. They're imposing as opposed to helping out the vulnerable.
Actually, somehow it's not true. And this is a lesson to all those who wanted to start the home, or those who are running the homes. Why are we running the homes? Why do we think of starting the home if you don't have the capacity? The capacity is God. If you open the home with God, then God will provide what you need. You will only just ask God to give you what belongs to the children, because the same Bible says that, let the children come to me. I believe that those who are taking care of the orphans, God opened their heart and planned something. I have a friend. It's called Newton Ogada. Atela is running a big home. I think he has like 100 and over, or 200 children. This guy was a primary teacher. This guy quit his job because he has a calling. He started doing agriculture, selling clothes, and he has been feeding the children. And now he has some support from abroad. But apart from that, this recently, he harvested over 200 maize, sacks of maize. This guy is amazing to me. We do not depend. My organization did not depend on white, but we depend on God. So God will give us exactly the person who is touched, not to come and brag or take care of the home, but to help where they can. But the problem that we have 100% is many people are going to run these homes because they know there is donation. They're trying to run away from the truth. That is what is happening.
They've made it a business.
Exactly, yes. I know many. They open it to they go to Facebook, they add all the friends, they start requesting for funding. Money will come in because I've been to all these other nations. They have the heart. Money will come in. But if you go to the home, you may find you are in a small jail for the children. You will find you're in a small jail of the children. Because they are too mean, they open the business. And I don't know what government is thinking about this. I think the government should drive around and see this whole... Exactly, yes. Because there's no point to take a child from a relative and put him in jail. Why he cannot get proper education, he don't have clothes, he don't eat 3 meals, it's dirty, they're being beaten by the bed bugs, they don't have blankets. It's against the law. You know, but this is happening, my friend. If you walk into these homes, you will cry.
You are suggesting that the National Council for Children's Services should make an audit of all the children homes that we have in the country, because as you have said that some are actually siphoning funds from donors and well-wishers so that they may do their own business.
Number one, what the government should do,
yes,
they need to walk to these homes and they have to set a standard. So if you cannot reach a standard, then the government will take the children, because the child belongs to the government. They will take the children back to the children's orphanage, because I believe we have children's orphanage. The government can take that, but the problem is somehow the government children's home is full. So to my advice, or to the way I'm thinking, I think each and every county or each and every sub-county, the government should provide a children's home, even at least one. So that if they go, they fund the result. Because I have cases, sometimes I'm being called by the police or by the children ministry. There's a child who got lost and is in the police station. They don't know where to take it. The police station is a government thing. And they have the child, and they don't know where to take the child. So they are calling the owners of the homes to come and see if they can take the children. We do take them, yes. We do take them, yes. But where do we taking them? I have restriction in my organization. I cannot take 600 children because I don't have support for 600 children. That's why I have only 40.
Yes.
This 40, I look for people, they are fully sponsored. If you go to education, I'm paying education cover. If you go to health, they have NHIF. Then they have food. Then they have proper education. You know, so we have people that it's very unfortunate, and God will give a good judgment if you open an orphanage for your own benefit. Yeah.
And the council, of course, has talked about, of course, one of its mandates is to reintegrate the children back into the society. And they have talked about, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they are fast-tracking the process of reintegrating children back into the community. Do you think that is a smart move?
It is not
possible. Because some of the kids that you are reintegrating to where they were picked up from, perhaps because of abuse and other factors.
It is not possible. For that case, it's not possible. What is happening with I call it my government because I'm a Kenyan, and I have the proof to speak about my government. They are speaking, like, for example, I want to give you a straight example. During Mao, or during clashes, they say those who had an incident of whatever, they will give them other lands to live. It can take even 20 years while these people are suffering by the roadside somewhere. Same to the issue of the orphans. These kids that you are thinking of taking them back to where they belong to, their parents died, their grandparents died, the uncle is poor and having 9 children. What are you trying to do? And you're not giving support to this. It is not possible. Sometimes this child ran. I have one who ran away because of the abuse. This pandemic, we had many cases of the abuses. We have elderly people slept with the young children. If this child ran to the orphanage, do you think you can take this child back to this community? It is not possible. What I do in my organization, every holiday, I give them 2 weeks back home. Because they have their guardians, whatever. By the time I send them home to see their extended family, I give them enough food to eat there. Then they come back. And my structure is very straightforward. After secondary, they go to university because I'm paying cover for that. Then from there now they can come back as people of the country of Kenya. So how can you take these children back? You have never supported this child. We have corona now. The government has shut down the country for some time. We have curfew. My question, did the government know how many children we have and how many children were affected and how many children have sanitizers and how many children have masks? Even at the center. I know, they know, but have they reached there?
Of course. We will be looking at that too, of course, and I'm quite sure if the government did, or even the National Council did something to help, at least in your endeavors, health and perhaps on food, it would really help a lot, right?
Yes.
Of course. We will be getting more on that. This is a news check, and we are taking our first break. We will be right back. Remember, you can send in your comments, suggestions, or even where you are watching us from via our all social media platform. We'll be right back. Keep it Channel 1.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Enjoy the magic of Christmas with Coca-Cola.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What?
None of that will hold you back now.
I still see him, Patrick. I still want to get his approval.
Look, he gave you his approval when he left you this gym. Now, the only person whose approval you need to get is your own.
Usijidanganye wewe. Nukta mbili tu unaweza jikuta huko tororo. You should feel lucky that I'm involving you in this.
Kwani unamjua?
Alikufa juzi kwa vita ya baa. Unamjuaje?
Alikuwa vita ya baa.
Next on.
He owes me $350,000 to be exact.
What?
I have his signed promissory note. I am not leaving until he pays me.
Why does he owe you that much money, sir?
Lost in playing poker. This isn't the first time he owes me money. If he doesn't pay up, I have no choice but to sue him.
I just called to let him know that his son has passed away.
Osvaldo is dead?
What? He was just fine.
Welcome back to Newscheck, and thank you. You are watching, especially those watching online. I can see Dominic Nganga wa Ikiro watching from the usual Kabati Keno. Watching live from Bomet East is Kemboi Ben. Darius Jacob, go Newton Ogada. We support the work you are doing. At least something to lighten also your morning. Somebody else is called Kalusing Muel. Is telling you good luck. Boni, you're watching Kembo. You're following the program from Bomet East, and of course I will mention some of the other comments, even suggestion. Remember Facebook, Twitter, and also YouTube. We are live, and we are discussing how to care for the vulnerable community in the community, and especially the widows and orphans and vulnerable children, or the OVCs. And Newton Ogada is the founder of God Will Provide Foundation and also orphanage. You've talked about 40 children in your orphanage, and in the wake of COVID-19, you've talked about a home that you know has over 200 kids. Now we have the COVID, and some of the homes or orphanages before the COVID, they were overpopulated because you really need to help these kids.
Yeah.
How have you changed the situation? Because of course there is the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have also to follow the Ministry of Health guidelines as well.
Yeah, what we did first, like my home, the first when there was announcement of closing school and everything, I had to take these kids back to their guardians, and I had to follow it. I had to follow them back. I took my nurses and my medical CEO and the other team to go around every home and check on their health status and give them the home's sanitizers and the water buckets and some food stuff for 2.5 months. And then later on, there was a high number of girls getting pregnant.
Yes.
In the society, and there was a directive from the president that the chiefs and the Ministry of Health have to do something about it. And then I remember the government called me, to see what we can do, and we decide to go as per the Ministry of Health rules, and you have to take back the kids. And I organized for a training. I hired people to come and train the girls and understand the problem, why they're getting pregnant. And I opened my orphanage wide for even the other children to come in. So what I did, I create the social distancing. I put a big tent, many chairs, and then we are going through the training. Yeah, so that's how we did it, but it really affect the big number. Like my friend I talked about, Newton, he had a lot, but he had to take some home, but he did good. He was following up. He was taking food to them. He was following up. I think many homes did it. They were following up. Yeah.
And as we go back to the cash transfer programs, perhaps to touch on that, Kenya has 5 cash programs right now. As we speak, we have the older persons cash transfer, the cash transfer for orphans and vulnerable children, the hunger safety net program, the urban food subsidy cash transfer. We also have persons with severe disability cash transfer. And of course, the main objectives of this program is to combat, of course, we have a lot of challenges, battered economy. We have the HIV, as you've talked about, some of the counties in Luo Nyanza are worst hit. And of course, we have a lot of widows and children as well. What more should be done for the cash transfer program? You've talked about you've never received a single coin from the government 8 years down the line. Should there be more transparency in this?
I can say, because I don't know about it, I'm not deep in it, but I think Kenya is big. Maybe it's never reached to my institution, but he has reached to other institutions. Kenya is so big, you know. Yes. I may say they don't, but somehow they're doing it somewhere else. So what I know, Kenya is big, but I will only advise, if they're doing it, let them do it with a lot of transparency. Yeah.
And counseling, of course, now kids have also another problem. Kenyans, we have a mental situation in the country. Yes. Everybody has been infected or affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you organize and make sure that, of course, you need to sit down with them or with a counselor so that they may be, they may know exactly what is happening to them? Everybody has been affected or infected.
We did it with counselors. I called some volunteers. They came, local volunteers.
Yes.
And we did a great counseling, and we are still on doing it. Because we realized that it's not only that the COVID made the kids to get pregnant or the boys to go into drugs, but it's negligent of the parents. If I don't talk, because the pregnancy and when boys getting into the drugs is not only in the orphanage home, but it's back even to the children who are living with their parents. The problem there is the parents. Most of the parents are not close to their children to teach them and to tell them how they can survive, how they can live in this world. And there's a issue here of this smartphone, the YouTube. You know, the time I grew up is different with the time my children are growing up. They have all these issues, but sometimes the Ministry of Education say they can go online. When they go online, which means they must have the internet. When they have the internet, they can go online, read online, and then after that, they go to YouTube, and YouTube has everything. So this actually add additional disadvantage to our own children. I got that when I was doing the training. And again, when I talk about the girls, you find a girl is over 13 years, maybe during this time they may start attending that early age. And the mother of the child is not close to the child. So this child will run away and start talking with this motorbike riders guys, give them 50 shillings to buy, knowing that this guy is helping, but this guy is killing. You know, so it is a matter of the parents, the guardians. Before we reach to the counselor, we need the parents to take their role as a parent, so that we can. Because even if you say chief is responsible, chief is a leader. It's not leading one family; it's leading the entire community. The chief is a human being. He's sleeping sometimes. He have to sleep. He have to have his family life. What's happening by the time he's having his family life? It is the parents. When I grew up, a person who is not your father or your mother will give you a lot of coffee if you're playing around with girls around. If you stand with a girl by the roadside, anybody can beat you up. It was a highest discipline. But nowadays, being of this child protection law, the child right, it affects many discipline units. But it's happening. That's what I know. Like this during this corona time, I'm telling you, the number of the children who are pregnant are many.
Yes.
The number
actually,
of children
who, pandemic,
exactly, the children who are now positive, HIV positive, are many. Our young boys are into drugs. We have seen this in the media. They are all into drugs. Why? Because the parents, we are not that close to our children and give them good lecture on how they can survive. And this is not only Kenya, it was in America, it's affecting the whole country, the whole world. So.
And talking about safeguarding the rights of orphans and of course the widows, the vulnerable, do the legal framework that we have in the country able to safeguard the rights of them, to make them not susceptible to any form of abuse? These are children.
Yes, the government has tried their level, because we have cases every time that we go to the police, and some have court cases and what have you. That is good, but the problem again after that, the children are now knowing their rights. So you cannot beat him up, you cannot discipline him, because they know their right. By the time that thing gets into their mind, I used to tell people, even the Constitution is good, but if you cannot change ourselves, it is bad. Because we take advantage on what is in the ground. So many children have taken this thing as a weapon that they can guard themselves with. They do something wrong, you cannot take them nowhere. You know, but again, we have some people who are evil that they do wrong to innocent children.
Yes.
So the government has been providing support to the people who are doing wrong things to the children. I really support that because I've seen it. But another way, we have to talk with the children. We have to have a day of talking with the children.
Yes.
Yeah, because if we don't do that, in the next 10 years, we will never have Kenya. We will have no Kenya. And I'm telling you, if Jomo Kenyatta can wake up today, he will just die again. Because the Kenya he wanted is not the Kenya we have today. That's the truth. If the founder of Kenya wake up today, in their grave, they will just die in a second. Because what they wanted is not what is happening, and that's the truth.
Yes. How do we initiate and promote targeted programs that are aimed at protecting the OVCs and widows, for that matter, so that we build capacity for the community also to chip in and also help? Because as we have talked about here earlier, is that a lot of homes are depending on donors, and most of those donors are people from outside the country or outside the continent.
The challenge that we have is the structure in the country. I don't blame government so much, but the structure is poor. I want to have a question. I want to talk about my county.
Yes.
We have a pineapple. We can have mangoes. We have fish. But the fish farm, the fish factory is in Thika. Thika has no lake. The juice factory is in Thika. And where do we get the fruits? Which means we are in my county as large, we are not exporting anything. We only import. If I drink a juice, I already paid something to Thika, which means I'm trying to support another county, which is not right because we are all Kenyans. Then that brings poverty in Homa Bay. To the question, if the government can implement this small micro industry, like we can have a fish industry in Homa Bay or in Kisumu, we can have the juice factory, because we are doing a lot of fruits in Nyanza. We have banana, we have avocado. I've seen avocado being eaten by dogs because we don't know where to take them.
Yes.
If the county government or the government can install some machines, then we are going to create job opportunity, which means the laborers are many. And when we employ these people, the vulnerable people, they will be earning. When they're earning, we will reduce the level of poverty. Then we will not have a lot of politics like what we have in Kenya. Everything is politics every day. If we have 10 industry in Homa Bay County, that is enough. Because the government will collect the tax, which means they will fix the roads. That is number one. Number two, so long as you're working, whether you're getting paid 10,000 shillings per month, you are saving with NSSF. You have the NHIF. So you cannot sell your only goat to go to the hospital, but you can keep your goat, which means tomorrow you will have 10 goats. Then after that, you are not in the poverty life. We will kill the level of the poverty. But there is no any company, any factory within our regions. Now you will see the collection of the tax is low. When the collections of the tax is low, even if you make noise for the national government, there is no money will come to the county government. And then that will bring the poverty level down there. So we will never, the non-governmental will never finish the problem back in the rural, unless the government initiated something that we can make. I was checking on the matchbox. I saw it was made in China or somewhere. Razor blade is made in where? Why can't we make our own, so that if you go to Tanzania, Uganda, Congo, you can get something made from Kenya? You see? And then if you go to America, there's a lot of job opportunities. Why? They create them. You trim the flower, you being employed, you get a lot of money. Who is paying somebody who is trimming flower in Kenya? How much do you think he's getting paid for? So it is not the non-governmental organization. It is that we have not have a meeting as a people of Kenya and see what we can do to invest. Yeah. Then
and of course, yes, and of course there are a lot of government projects, even initiated by UNICEF and other UN bodies. Do you think perhaps if we do the government can take something like the feeding program and the education and perhaps the health?
Yeah.
A lot of the vulnerable communities will be able at least to lift up some burden from their shoulders.
The problem is, number one, we know the money going to the counties from the national government. Where's the medicine down there? Where's the money for the medicine? What happened with it? Mm-hmm. If we don't deal with the corruption, mm-hmm. the corruption is not with the president. The corruption is not even the corruption is down there. Money is coming 1 million. Can we sit and see how we can get to ourselves? And then the rest we take to the community. Yes. Then what is getting to the community? So long as you are a thief, you cannot control the thief. Mm-hmm. If I take half of the money, I will never be straightforward to my workers to be straightforward. That is the truth. So the problem, the government of Kenya has a lot of money. But the problem is the framework. Like yes. Recently I saw in the TV, I don't know whether I'm the only person who saw it, mm-hmm. that the COVID money is getting lost somewhere. Mm-hmm. I've never seen anybody to court. I've never seen anybody being judged with this money. I only seen the media, in the judges talking about it. Somebody, the politician went to the funeral, mm-hmm. they speak about everything, but I've never seen any action. What will I do when I'm just a person there? I will just steal and then there's nothing. Mm-hmm. Because up there, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Education money. Where's the education money? Our children are being sent home in this secondary school to get back the fee from the poor families, from the poor background. They drop off. They drop out of school because of that. And the government say free education when they do their campaign. Where is the laptops? So
okay,
it is not.
It's the framework.
It's the framework. Yeah.
Yes, and of course there are so many campaigns that have been initiated to protect widows. And right now we are also there's a campaign, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And of course the children are also feeling the heat of the violence. There was a Stop It campaign by UNICEF and one of the mobile companies here in the Kenya, which was the aim was to raise public awareness of the different forms of violence, including physical, sexual, and other forms of violence. Do you think this kind of programs should be initiated more so that we may be able to protect already the vulnerable that are even not only in homes and also in orphanages?
Can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. If you find 60 people having placards and banner running for something violence, called violence, women violence, children violence in the street, do you think that will help? The widow who was violent will see it, but that's not enough, because that is not solving the problem. Mm-hmm. The problem, the structure, the framework. Mm-hmm. We spend 1.5 million or 10 million to do the networking. We print the banner, mm-hmm. we run, we have our allowances, we go back home and eat. Does that help the person who was affected? Mm-hmm. Absolutely no. What we should do as the people, I really accept what they're doing, because some people are able to see. Now I'm speaking here, not everybody is seeing me. Mm-hmm. Maybe few people are seeing me. We need to go back to the offices in the county. We have the office in the county. The county offices have the framework. They have the calendar. Mm-hmm. They have the notes on which dates who was affected and where in which location. Then we can call all of them together in sub-counties. Then you come, don't bring banner, come and speak with the people of this county. Mm-hmm. Use this money to sensitize people mm-hmm. in the sub-counties, in the villages, mm-hmm. Because if you go to, for example, Yugis town and you run the whole day, mm-hmm. do you think somebody in the village will see you? Not really. But if you work with chief, assistant chief, village elders, mm-hmm. then you are going to reach out everybody. Mm-hmm. And then we can have the result mm-hmm. of it. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm a director, but I do things practical. If I'm building a widow home, I will be there. I will send you money, but I will be there definitely. I'll see what you do with the money. If I'm feeding the orphans, I'm there. every day. I have no apology for that. If I'm doing the health program like health services in the community, don't think my staff will go there 1 week before me reaching out those people. I want to know if they have been given the correct prescription of what is affecting them in the village. If all the projects can do that, then we will reach out the number. But we have been doing it. We have been creating awareness. Can you tell me the result of young girls, the pregnancy between March and December?
Big problem, actually.
A big problem.
Yes.
Does this help? Because we could not have a chance to meet these children in their villages through the chiefs, through the village elders. That will work out.
Yeah. And the council, that is the National Council for Children's Services, did talk about over 20,000 children have been sent away from children homes and orphanages because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, these homes have been unable to stay afloat. Some of these who have been reintegrated into the community are teenagers. Yeah. Do you think perhaps programs like being integrated into the NYS could at least help them so that these teenagers can have a brighter future?
Absolutely, yes. The NYS will help, and I thank the government for that. I've seen many people have been helped through the NYS. And I thank the government of initiating this technical institute in the counties and in the sub-counties. This is going to help a big number, because number one, I don't say that education is bad. Education is good 100%. But how many graduates do we have in Kenya today? And how many of them are working? The graduates are riding motorbikes because there's no job opportunity.
Indeed.
But the government came up with a good idea for the Vocational Training Institute. This is going to help a big number. And I'm pleading to my government to keep on putting a lot of funds there, because that is where there is money to survive now. If you go to developed countries, they don't focus so much on this office work, but they focus so much on the handworks. Because I'm sitting in this chair, somebody made it. I'm at this table, a local person made it. So if we can have these people in our region, then now what I was talking about of export will now come to the truth. Because now we can make a lot, and now we can import some to other countries and get paid back, and then we can grow. Yeah, so it's a good idea. I really support it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you're watching Newscheck. I can see Darius Jacob here. Eugene, you're also watching, and of course a lot of people talking about I'm from Migori watching KBC Live. This is Opodi Silas, and talks about what of widowers. I'm only seeing widows and orphans. Do they, the widowers, also need care? Okay, of course we will touch on that. Watching from Kisumu County, James Flavin Nitonga. We support the good work. Brain from northern Uganda, following the program from Kisumu. Terry Cabs saying God bless you because of exactly what you are doing. Talking about also there is we have forgotten about the widowers. What about them?
I worked with the widowers. I think I forgot about it. Yes, well, I have some that I built their houses because they were living in that life. And in our program, we have support to that in support of that if they have children. We do support the children. You know, a man can get married, so sometimes support is very difficult because you lost your wife, you get married, you're not a widower no more because already you have a wife and you have somebody who take care of the children. But I have few in my organization that I know I build them houses and I do support them like a little bit. Yeah.
And churches, of course, some of the churches have initiated programs to support some of the most vulnerable in the community. Have you had such kind of partnerships?
Yes. The Redeemed Gospel in Oyugis recently brought us some shoes for the kids, a soap. I really appreciated that. I have a friend called Maurice of Mana Ministry, working so hard here in Nairobi and in Kisumu. He supported my ministry, not once, not twice, severally. I have many churches who's been, the churches are doing good in that. The churches have the heart. Yeah, I've seen that.
Director General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Patrick Amod, the 5th of December of this month, did talk about the government has committed to cater for the OVCs and the widows, of course, by paying their NHIF, so that at least if these people are not only have a food problem, they also have health issues. And mostly, you look at some of the widows are quite old and ill.
Yes.
We think this will be able at least to jumpstart projects that the government have started or initiated to help widows and the OVCs.
In Kenya, we estimated 8 million widows. 8 million widows. 8 million that we are talking about now. I don't know the number that will add up tomorrow. And I don't know the number which is not here. And if they can do it much better, unless he keep his promise, because we always announce things, but down the line after 10 years, nothing has happened. So if he keep it, that will help a lot, because most of the widows and the vulnerable in the community, being I told you, have been working so close with health unit, they're dying because of knowing their status, because they cannot afford to go to the hospital. Some are dying with malaria, some are dying with typhoid, some are dying with pressure, some are dying with this other disease. The cancer is killing a really big number, because they can't afford to go to the hospital earlier because they don't have money. So if the director says that they can support on NHIF, that will be great, that will be good. But again, the Ministry of Health, you can provide the NHIF, but there's no medicine in the hospital, so it is zero. So by the time they're providing the NHIF, they provide the medicine in the hospital. They provide the blood. Some people die because of blood. I witnessed many cases.
Yeah, lack of blood.
Lack of blood. There's no blood in the government hospital. And you are being transferred there to get help because it is for the government, and there's no blood. Even if we call hospitals now, they have no blood. Why? Where's the money for the blood? So there's something that we need to do. We have seen people donating blood, and there's no blood in the government hospital. And if you have money, the blood will come. You know? So it is something that by the time he's addressing the issue of NHIF, that is good. I congratulate him for that. But let him address the issue of the medicine back in the hospitals.
Indeed. And most of the orphans in the country are a result of HIV and AIDS. How can we create a supportive environment and also to like civic education to ensure that we don't just keep on this trend where we have HIV AIDS, we have widows, we have orphans, and also we have children, vulnerable children. But we will just keep on this cycle. How do we stop that cycle? Because a lot of the orphans, as you have said, and as the NCCS has said, most orphans are as a result of the HIV and AIDS.
We can stop this when we do too much research on how we can reach out to the mothers.
And the civic education.
Exactly, because the mothers, nowadays, there's no reason for a woman to give birth in the house. And we have free delivery in all the hospitals. But when they go to the hospitals, I have an hospital, before they get to the delivery room, they must be tested. And if they have a history of HIV, they must be have been given the medicine. There's a medicine that they've been given so that the child that they're giving birth to cannot be affected. But the problem is that many women, they fear going to the hospital. They get delivered at home. And then now the child actually get infected immediately. So it is a matter of not talking with the children, but talking with the parents who already know their status. If the parents can do what the government of health want them to do according to their own life, then these children will never be affected.
Of course, when we talk about widows and OVCs, the first thing that comes in mind in food, shelter, and clothing, and as well as medical cover. But there are also other support that these people need.
Yes.
Birth registration. Some of the kids don't even know where to start when they get to 18, and they also need some social support. But this has always been omitted, even in so many homes, because just think about food, shelter, clothing, health. But they also need even the legal framework for people, widows who have also been abused.
I am number one on that. Last 2 years, I did over 25,000 birth certificates for the children in my county. I paid for them. I have a sister called Jessica, is from America, gave me money. And I was number one, I think I was number 1 or 2 in the country doing this issue of birth certificate, because I realized I'm taking an orphan in. And I cannot know the birthday, I cannot know where he was born or she was born, because the person whom I could ask is dead. So I had to create the age. I only looked at the child and say, this guy might be around 10 or 12. Then it was too difficult to me, because this baby was born in the house, and the parents were died. They were dead. Who else can tell the date? Nobody. So I talked with one of my sponsors, and they supported it 100%. If you come to my constituency called Kasipol, if you go to part of like 3 sub-counties, I did 25,000 birth certificates for free. Yes, because it was a crisis. The government announced they need birth certificate to register a child in school, and they did not provide this birth certificate freely. I think they did it last year, I don't know. But before then, if you ask the Ministry of Birth in Kosele, Rachuonyo, I am number 1 leading in the county.
Okay, impressive.
Yes, I did it.
Yes. And other than that, we are trying to help these people out. And most of them come to your homes or to other orphanages and other homes so that they may get the much needed help. And as I said earlier, is that we only think about food, we only think about shelter, clothing, and perhaps medical cover. What about the legal framework? We have widows who have been abused. We have widows who have been raped. We have widows who have undergone gender-based violence. Have you witnessed something like that over the 8 years that you've been working?
Yes, I have a case in my house.
How have you been able to help?
There was a guy called, his name is Brian. He's a young guy. He was an orphan because they lost the father, but the mother is there. He was trimming the fence, their fence, and the neighbor came and cut off his arm. And I was in the picture because I got in and took this guy to the hospital, and they managed to be alive. It's okay. And then I employed the mother. Nancy works in my organization even today. And then after that, we took legal action, and the guy was arrested, ran in court. He went through his judgment. He's still in the jail. So I say that the government has been trying. The problem that we have, which is affecting most of the community, is the cultural issues. Your uncle or your in-law beat you up, then the family will sit down and say, now we are a family. So they're trying to block the right for the widow. I have cases whereby the in-laws sold the land for the widow without a widow knowing. I have a case in my office that I actually did, and I got back the title deed. I went to the legal way. An in-law sold the land for a widow. And when I wanted to build for this widow a house, then this widow has no land to build. This widow was married in those years, she has no ID. I had to go to the legal action to get the ID and to register the land in her name. And now she's living in a house, and I employed this woman, so that she can understand her right. So the government has been doing it. I don't complain about that. So long as the message reaches the government, they really take quick action.
And of course, other homes need to follow suit, because these people need legal representation and also access to justice, right?
Yes.
Indeed. And over 21, according to the council, over 21 children, orphans and orphans, widows, and vulnerable children, over 21,000 have been let go by homes that have not been able to acquire or secure funds. You talked about how we can empower homes so that we do not solely rely on help from outside. That's a huge number being taken back to the society. Of course, some have to go back home where they were abused, or perhaps where they had left because of problems that they have. 21,000 is a huge number. Are we staring at a bigger problem in future?
That's where my question was to the government. They should have known where these kids are, because the child belonged to the government.
Yes.
The government says if I beat my child, they take me to court. But if the child is being abused and being taken to home and then returned back home and nobody knows where they are, So I think we are still lacking a system, a arm of the government that can protect all these children. I know they give security protection when they have reported to, but now there's a huge, big number that can turn the country. Yeah, because what if all these people turn to be thieves and they turn to be drug addicts and, you know, like for example, I told you I have a life change program in Rungai.
Yes.
Here. I have those who are being deep in the drug. I see now they're changing. I see the great change in them. The government should have something like that so that we can take them. Because the child, you talked about the birth certificate. A child has the birthright to go back to where he was born. Where the child was born, there's a chief. Assistant chief. These are the arm of the government. They should let us know where this should be. You know, because for example, all your parents died and your grandchildren, and you being sent back to that land, where are you going to survive? You are going to another extended family, which is going to abuse you again. You know, so it's a big challenge to us. I don't know how we can approach it as now, but this arm of the other NGOs who are having kind of funding from wherever, I'm just requesting, if you see one in your community, take that one back. I have a case in my house. I was driving, going to my office during Corona. I got 2 children by the street. Somebody stopped me. When I stopped, they say, these 2 children got lost. Then it stopped me to take them because they know I'm running an orphanage home. Then I took these kids, go with them to orphanage home. I went to report to the police. These kids say, Dad, we have to go with you to your house. They are living in my house now. I follow up their background. The problem was their mother was abused and came to Nairobi to look for to be a maid in Nairobi. So the person that they lived with abused them and they ran away. These are only 2 cases. How many cases do we have?
Many.
Many. So we just need to have the good heart to help. That is the only thing that we can do.
I remember a couple of years back, the government did an audit on non-government organization. Of course, some were struck because they had not met the threshold. Should this be the same case when it comes to orphanages and children homes?
Exactly, yes. We have orphanages home that they open the business. The government is doing audit and arresting and stopping them. It's okay. I accept that 100%. But what's happening in the government too? What is happening in that government? So we need a reform. That is it. We need a reform from the government. We need a reform from the non-governmental organizations. Because we do receive a lot of money. I receive a lot of money. I'm here to accept that. But go to the ground and see what I've done with the money. There's 518 houses down there. There is a orphanage home with 40 kids and another 150 outside. There's a school that I'm building. There's an orphanage home. There's an hospital. There is a life change center here. I have a lot. I have done 25,000 birth certificates. We need to work hard towards on what God has given to us. Even the structure of government is God-given. So by the time we're doing anything, we need first to think, is what we are doing godly? For example, if I can build a big house in Nairobi. It's okay, I can, yes. But what will that help me with? If I take the money from the orphanage and build a massive house in Nairobi or buy many things, they are good things to see with my eyes. But according to God, I am sinning big. I am more than a thief. I am more than a killer because I'm killing many souls. But if we can go through that experience of knowing what is mine and what is not mine, then Kenya will be great. Kenya will be great. We have an opportunity. Kenya will be great, both to non-governmental organizations and to government organizations. Kenya will be great, but the problem which is killing all the programs is we are too greedy, we are not faithful, we love money, we love wealth, and we forget about what God wants us to do. Yeah.
And still on audit, do you have a body that looks at your books of account?
Yeah.
What the children are eating, and of course the widows?
Yes.
How much is being spent in running the affairs of them, including medical cover?
I think I'm good on management.
You do have a body perhaps that does the audit for you?
I have audit body. Those who are working on my books. That's why I've been trusted with all this money. And that's why I've been trusted to go to America 5 times a year or 2 times a year. And I'm receiving funds there. I have the audit group that are doing my books.
Do you have do I have an audit company perhaps, or a firm that audits homes, not alone yours, leave alone yours?
Yeah.
Perhaps an agency or the NCCS that comes to check how the kids are eating. We had an expose a couple of months ago where the kids were in a home that was in a very bad state.
Yeah.
Do you have an agency perhaps from the government who comes to see how the kids are eating, what you're feeding the kids, how you're treating the kids there?
There's a problem on that. I wish they could come back to my orphanage, even today when I'm in Nairobi. If they can go there, I'm really happy because my books are there. There's a big problem there. People fear to get audited because of the way of the corruption. That is number one. Number two, those who are coming to do the audit, people corrupt them. You call them in your office, give them 10,000, they clear your books. There's no reality about that. That is the truth. Number three, there's some people who are getting funding through friends, like you now. I will ask you to support my orphanage. You send me 10,000 shillings over my phone. How will we account for that?
Yes.
It's not passing through the through the bank. All my support for the orphanage is passing through the bank, and the person who is authorizing money from America must write a letter to Equity Bank to authorize me to receive the funding. Number two, I have a structure. I have a chairman, I have a treasurer, I have a secretary, which means I am not entitled to touch money by myself. It must pass through the board. The board must approve what we are doing, and me and the treasurer have to sign so that we can withdraw the money. And after withdrawing the money, I have to file again the report, the return to America on what I've purchased with the receipt and what is not purchased by the receipt. I write it down for me to get the next money. And if you go to my management, we have a menu for the children. If I go to the orphanage, the first thing I see is the menu. I have them in even my phone here. We have the menu of the food for the children. We have the budget for the clothes every year. We have the budget for the shoe every year. All my girls are getting their sanitary towels. It's in the budget. I have a budget for a month. And I present this budget to my brother in America called Johnny Breach. We're working with him closely. And then the funding from America goes to our account in America, and they release it. So according to my organization, 100% correct. Apart from that, because I did not want to touch this money, I'm doing business. I'm a businessman. I'm doing furniture work. I have the nice furniture in Oyugis. I've been doing a lot of businesses where I'm getting my personal. If I want to buy my clothes, I don't touch the money for the orphans. I don't touch the money for the widows. I go to my personal business account. Then I use it. But the problem with the audit, nobody would wish to be audited because there is no reality. There's a guy who wanted to fund me. He came, he was going through many orphanage homes in Kenya, but he's from America. He told me when he went to some in Kakamega, it took it 1 week to go through the receipts.
1 week?
1 week, because they cannot even explain themselves. When he came to me, he thought it's going to be a week again. He worked for 30 minutes because my manager is there. If you need this file for records for health, this is the file. You know, Stephen Ochieng was treated in this hospital this day. The prescription was this because the disease was this one. If you go to education, you go to the file of education. You see this, the maths, he got this, what he got this, and this, the total is weak on this. If you come to the normal life, we have a file for the normal life of a child. We study a child every day in the morning. How did this child wake up? By the time he or she was taking breakfast, was she okay? Because we have two things. You can give everything. When you use abusive language, they remember their parents. You see? So we have a mother who actually act like the original mother for the children, the biological mother for the children. So she's taking care of all the children rightly. And even if the government send people now in my office, while I'm in Nairobi, I'm not afraid. They will go there. The Minister of Health actually come to my orphanage home every time to do their health things. The only result I've been getting is excellent. But that is me. What about the other?
Yes, actually that was my next question. That is you. You can't be able to account for everything. What about the 500 plus orphanages and homes that we have in the country?
I believe they're doing good when it comes to their financial issues and status. I believe they're doing good. I believe they are God given them an opportunity to do it. It's a call for me. But if they're not doing it the right way, then I'm sorry. Because if the government cannot give a proper judgment to them, there's a higher judgment which is coming.
Yeah.
It's coming from heaven. So if you don't fear the judgment for your country, there's a higher judgment. So it is them to do things rightly. That's my advice to them.
And you are watching Newscheck. We are looking at caring for vulnerable in the community. We're talking about the widows, orphans, and vulnerable children, if you like, OVCs. And having Newton Ogada, who is the founder of God Will Provide Foundation. And thank you so much for all your feedback on Facebook. But let's first take a quick break. When we come back, how do we identify the legitimate cases, if you like? Because some might end up coming for your help, but they are not really needy children or needy widows. We will be looking at that when we come back.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. $1 Million Face baby.
Tutakosana wewe vibaya sana. Kuleta wase usiku mwanze na usemi.
Uni relative.
Mnadozaje? Room yako iko na bed moja tu.
Atutamane si for long. Yaani mimi nakuleta hapa, alafu unanionyesha madhara.
Sinakwambia Tony amejipanga. Ukiona nyumba.
Unajua leo ni 30. Unafaa kunilipa dola rent.
Leo ni 30. Nimefika haraka.
Yaani ati niko town na nakunywa maziwa yako jikamuria.
Chumedu.
Nimekuja.
Uko smarter than most Buddha.
Nitwa tailor made suit.
Next on
Yes, my youth, them I feel love them father. We are gonna nice up the party, nice up the party, nice up the party now. Oh gosh, baby, come back. You know you're all that I've got.
Every day we are go fight. I think it's best that you forget me. You only need the light when it's burning low. Only hate the road when you're missing home.
Welcome back to Newscheck. Thank you so much for keeping us company. Today we are looking at how to care for the vulnerable communities, and especially now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic. We are talking about widows, we're talking about orphans, we're talking about vulnerable children, or the OVCs, orphans and vulnerable children. And I can see you are watching. Terry Cabs says, God bless you. Eric Dianga, watching from Nairobi Embakasi, very important topic, thank you. The government funds are not reaching this important charitable organization. Good job, Newton. Then Leonard Otieno Odongo, watching from Oyugis, actually.
Thank you.
It's amazing to see the transformation your projects make in the lives of vulnerable families and orphans. Talking about vulnerable, how do you identify legitimate or needy cases, because it could be prone to abuse?
Yes, that's a very interesting question, because at first it was too difficult for me to identify the needy. Even the time I wanted to pick the orphans to the orphanage was a big challenge to me. And God opened to me and showed me how I can do it. I went to the chief. The chief called the village elders, and the village elders knows, because they're living in the village, they know who is in need than any other person. Because you know, when we talk about the orphans, we have an orphan which is being left with billions of money, but he's still an orphan.
Yes.
We have a widow that was left with all the money, but he's a widow. If you're talking a widow, is a widow. So here we only focus on the vulnerable. That's why I had to go back to the village and the village elders, and then from there I work with the village elders to help me identify the children with the need. That was from the beginning. But nowadays, because people knows me, everybody called me. I remember last year, somebody called me from Western. I went and built 2 houses there. This time I was called somewhere called Gwasi, it's almost the end of the Homa Bay County. I've built 13 houses now. And if I go there, they're really, really, really bad houses, but like poor. Like you get there, there's nothing in the house. You just get in the house, you feel you are yourself in the house. There's no bed, there's no mattress, there's no utensil. You don't understand how this person is living in this house with children. And they have children inside. You can feel that whenever you build a house of 30 iron sheet, you see, they see God in this. They see like, I've been praying, then God help me, you know. So they see actually 100% God in it. Because there's nobody else been thinking of helping them, you know. So nowadays, it is very easy because everybody's calling me. Every morning I wake up, I have many phone calls about that. So I go and I pray, I say, God, this is a huge number I cannot support. Then I talk with my friends in America, I post in Facebook, I reach out people, they help me out. Whenever they help me out, that is not my money. I have to take this money back to the person, because this money just came through me as a bridge. You know, the bridge is being built for us to pass. The bridge will never care who is passing with the kind of the load. So I'm kind of like a bridge. Any money which comes through me, if it's for a widow, it's for a widow. I testify that. If it's for an orphan, it's not for an orphan. It is not me. And sometimes I tell you something. These my guys, these my friends, sometimes they send me money for me. They say, Newton, the money that I send is not for the ministry. That is for you. You have to drive, you have to drink tea, you have to eat, you have to take your children to school. Because there's a problem. If I focus on this ministry 100% with the same money, then my kids will be worse. They see the growth in their house, in their offices, in my office, but they don't see the same growth in my house. Then I will take the money from the ministry, then I'm a thief. That's why I'm doing business. And that's why my friends from abroad, sometimes they send me personal money. And it's not a small money, sometimes they send me good money as my personal money.
Okay.
Exactly, yes, I'm happy for that.
Yes, and talking of local administration, we're talking about the chiefs, we're talking about the assistant chiefs and perhaps the DCCs. Those are the first line of defense when you talk about local administration.
Yes.
Should they be involved more in efforts to help the vulnerable?
I think that is their work, according to my experience and understanding. The chief and the DCC are not there just to have running the cases of the
National
problems.
government,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah. They should be there to understand what's happening in the community, because if you want to be a good DCC, you should know how many vulnerable in your community. If you're a chief, you should know who is not getting meal.
And how to mobilize.
And then you can call Newton, you can call another Newton, you can call who and come together in the office and say, I was working in my community and these are the cases. You know? But the problem with them, most of them, I don't want to call any name, they only focus on the land issues because the land issues has the money. The land dispute. If you go to Homa Bay Court or Yugis Court, 90% of the case is land. And those who brought these cases is those people, you know. So I wish they can do good on that too. I'm not complaining about the land issues. But they should take a lot of time again to these vulnerable people. Because they know, if somebody dies in the community, chief knows. Because they're giving death certificate, right?
Yes.
Ministry of Health and whatever giving this. And you cannot bury without it, right?
Yes.
So they know. The chief must come to the funeral. They have eyes, they can see. So I think they should focus on this. And then after knowing the number in the sub-county or in the county, then they can call all the heads of these organizations, all the directors together and say, we know you have this. And this is what is happening. And the government of Kenya is having this. How can we work out what is coming from the government and what you have to support this? You will never be told how much is being given by the government. You can only see the member of parliament coming with 50 sacks of maize, and we have 20,000 people waiting, and they go back with 1 kg once in 6 months or once in a year. Is this enough? We should be having, because if I get 1 kg of maize, because I'm a Kenyan, I should get it. What about the vulnerable? So the chiefs and the DCC and whatever can identify the vulnerable people and bring their names and call the directors of non-governmental organizations together, and then they have a meeting and identify the needy family. I don't expect my mom to go and get 1 kg of maize because I can provide that for her. But there's another mother next to my house. You know? So if you don't put politics in this, the government, whatever little that the government is giving back to the community, and the whatever little that we can give back will be enough to support everybody. Yeah, that's my idea.
Of course, we're talking about the vulnerable, and we have orphans and, of course, vulnerable children who are also disabled. Have you had a chance to take in such kind of kids, and what more should be done because they are facing more than 1 or 2 challenges in their lives?
I've never worked with them, but what I do, last 3 months I call all the disabled people in my house, in my compound, and give them food for them. I offer them food and whatever, transport, everything, whatever that little that God has given to me. But I was talking with my brother who is in the US called Johnny Bridge about this 1 month ago, and we discussed it when I was in America 2 weeks ago. We discussed on how can we start another organization, another arm of the organization, which is taking in these vulnerable children and the disabled, because they are neglected. They are in the homes. People hide them in their bedrooms, and they are facing a lot of challenges than these orphans that we are talking about, because then they cannot even work with their hands. There are very many. So my organization, we are planning this year that we are ending. We started the Life Change program, but next year we had a program of looking how we can build a house and bring them and take care of them. I know we cannot take all of them in the entire country, but I'm just requesting for any organization which can support this, please let us support. Let us take our hands to them. They are human. They are people. They are our own. They are our own. For example, yesterday I was driving around the Yaya Center. I stopped at the break at the lighting system, and 2 kids came to my window. They were selling some peanuts. I really cried because I felt like these are still young people. They should not be here. They should be studying in the classroom or somewhere. I had to give them money, but I did not take what they are selling, because I realized it was not wise for me to take what they're selling. And when I was driving, I thought of driving back and picking them. You know, I thought of, can I go back and find these guys? And I promise I will go back there any day to see if I can find them. If I find them, I can follow up their family, and I can go with them, because I see there are people that these guys, they can grow up and they can help this country.
Yeah.
And we both see them, you know.
Yes. And away from that, of course, in the BBI, the nurses and the doctors, they're talking about a health commission. The youths also want a health commission, a youth commission. Of course, with so many organizations that can be able to help, looking at even UN, UNICEF is helping, the World Bank is helping, DFIB is helping, SIDA is helping. Should we have an umbrella that will be able to cover for the vulnerable people? Because looking at all these organizations, and yet we are talking about 21,000 kids have to be sent out because there are no resources to continue helping them.
God asked Moses, what do you have? What does the government have for these children? Yes, I support BBI. I read it. I see maybe there are some things. They did a lot of good work in it. But I do call those things paperwork. I don't know if even if we pass this BBI, this thing will be there. That's my question. But God asked Moses a simple question. What do you have in your hand? What does the government has before we pass this BBI? BBI is a newborn baby. Before newborn baby, we have the old boy. We have the old people. What happened with the old boy? Now we are like loving we have love with the baby who is in the womb than the love of the baby who is walking out. We have Kenyan constitution that we did vote for it. We passed it. What is the change?
Okay, even without the BBI, do you think perhaps we should formulate some, even if it's a law, that will be able to govern and bring all the organizations together? Because looking at all the organizations and all the money they bring in, including the donors, as you have said, they form the biggest chunk of those people who help the vulnerable, and especially the orphans and the widows.
That will work.
Yes, if it's implemented.
It will be good if it's implemented. I said one thing long time ago. If the African could be united as American, if it could be African United Nation, then we have one president in the Africa, then we have states, then we have one money, we could not have these problems. Answer to that, before the government unite themselves and fight with the corruption, there will be no point of uniting the directors of these NGOs to work together, because we are still bringing the devil called, the giant called corruption to this small organization. There will be a lot of bribe issues. But I am just thinking, people need to be speaking God's word. Because if you fear God, you don't need anybody to audit your report. You don't need the everything. You just need to do things rightly, because there's somebody who's seeing you. But even if you bring up this, that's why I'm supporting the BBI. If they can put something like that, I support that. But if there is no will of God in it, it will be in the paperwork. Your grandchild will read it and will use the same paper to lighten the fire. It has no weight unless we all, both the arm of the government and the arm of the non-governmental organization, come together and say we want to speak the truth. And the truth is, we have to serve with all our heart, knowing one day that I'm going to die and be buried, and I will leave everything in this world. Then we are going to be good.
Indeed. As we wind up, I can say we need to pick up the pace. What more should be done to ensure that we don't talk about the vulnerable each and every time talking about the vulnerable? Actually, a good framework that will be able to help these people, including our orphans and those living with conditions, and especially the orphans.
Both the government and the non-government organizations should focus on building companies, light industry in the communities, bring farming unit like horticulture, farming, dairy farming, so that we can have food in the table and money in the pocket, and that will actually accommodate everybody, and in the future we shall never have any problem. Yeah, because these people can work, they have their hands. Being a vulnerable does not mean you cannot work, but there's no work to do, which means there's no income. Yeah, so if the government and the non-governmental organization can bring up the light industry right by your backyard there, then we are good to go.
Okay. Before your final word, we have Edna Wanjohi. You're watching. You haven't said where you're watching us from, but thank you so much. We have Ben Letom. You're watching from Bomet. We also have Terry, who tells you, God bless your work.
Thank you.
So, final word.
What I can tell to my fellow Kenyans is that we should focus on the work that God has given us to do, be it governmental work, be it non-governmental work, be it your family. We should focus on it 100%, and there will be change. There will be absolute change in all the sectors that we are doing. And I may say, I thank all our governmental arms, the president, the ministry for the work that they've been doing to the country, to the fellow members. And I thank all the NGOs, the supporters that has been supporting us. And I thank you to interview me.
Thank you.
And I thank the channel, because this is not my first time to be here, and they've been supporting what I'm doing to reach out to the people. May God bless everyone.